giving us this example to follow where even as high schoolers and middle schoolers, we were not living up to it by any means. We were very dumb. But
Yep.
like whether she realized it or not, it was having an impact on us, like
Yeah.
deep down, showing us what it means to live for the Lord.
Yeah. How's it going, everybody? My name is Stanley Chalk here with another episode of Chalk Talk, and with one of my best friends, Jacob Peck. Jacob, say hi.
Hello, hello.
We've known each other for several years, right? Very several years.
Quite a while.
Jacob, it was my best man in my wedding, and yeah, now we're kind of today we're gonna be talking about challenges he has and blessings that he has as a youth pastor. And you've been a youth pastor for how long?
Um, yeah, I've been a youth pastor, let's see, since about 2018 here on Kauai.
That's
Um,
pretty long. I didn't even realize it was that long.
yeah, so ever since I moved back from college, essentially, I started off as a volunteer,
hmm
just volunteering teaching Sunday school, and then within like 6 months, I moved churches and was working as a youth pastor pretty much. So,
Okay, okay, got it.
and it's been a little bit like on and off on different seasons, but
hmm
for the most part, yeah,
Yeah,
since 2018, so
that's a long
18,
time.
19,
What is
20,
that? 3 years?
almost,
4 years?
almost five.
Dude.
No, 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 it's like four. It's
Yeah,
like
I was
four. I
just
was
gonna
counting
say.
2022 already. We're like 1 month in.
Five, four
But yeah,
years?
5 years.
4 or 5 years?
years.
Yeah. Four, we'll say 4.5. That's fine. I mean, same
Sure.
difference.
I
Same.
was yeah, I was doing youth ministry also before I moved home, but I wasn't actually a youth pastor. I was just a youth pastor intern.
Oh,
So
okay, got it, got it.
I don't know if that counts either, but still
Yeah,
ministry.
it's
So
it's you're always a pastor at heart, right?
maybe, maybe.
Is that biblical?
I'm not sure.
Probably
But I
not.
guess yeah, I mean, if we consider like pastoral leadership a spiritual gift of sorts or like something that you're called to, then it's yeah, you
Okay,
kind
yeah,
of are
yeah,
set
yeah, yeah,
apart
yeah.
at a certain point. But I don't
Okay.
think I was a pastor back then. No.
Too much sin.
That's right.
Okay. So kind of before you go into kind of a little bit more about what you do as a youth pastor and some of the things that come with being a youth pastor, like tell them about kind of yourself and how you grew up, just in general, just just something quick.
Yeah. Yeah. So I grew up, I was born in Maryland, the East Coast, where all my extended family is, and moved to Hawaii when I was 12 years old. So I was going to middle school and high school out here. And that was a super formational time for me. Just like figuring out who I was, bit of culture shock, as to be expected, moving to Hawaii in middle school as a white kid.
Yeah.
Um, and but also like spiritually formational. I feel like when we were in middle school and high school, going to youth group, it was like yeah, like kind of like a mini revival of youth
Oh,
group,
youth
and
group
like
or
it was crazy what we were a part of.
yeah.
And over the years of doing youth ministry, I've realized how special that was because I just took it for granted completely.
hmm
Um, but it was a really neat experience that we had, and I feel like God like had his hand on our lives all the way back then. I didn't even realize it back then, but like was kind of like leading us towards something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then really kind of started to figure out that calling in college and decided to start studying ministry, even though that's not what I was intending on studying in college. Um, and then, yeah, and then after that, so I was studying youth ministry sort of, but like I never really wanted to be a pastor. I actually was like kind of decided that I did not want to be a pastor and I'd rather work in ministry in some other setting like camp or nonprofit or something else just because pastor seemed too formal and
Sure.
scary.
Right. Right.
Um, but then God just kind of kept taking me there,
hmm
whether I wanted it or not. And then eventually, yeah, came back home, started doing youth ministry here. Just because this was the only way to really do it on the island, because we don't have a whole lot of other like avenues to reach the kids and
hmm
for the Lord. And so started working with the church and then eventually just kind of got licensed. Maybe 4 months ago, I became actually a licensed pastor.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah, that's kind of it.
Crazy. No, going back to like just the whole like when we were youth, dude, we had it like so good. So
Oh,
good.
for real. Yeah.
Um
No, we were blessed.
no, yeah. We had
Um,
just there's just so much, I don't know. There was like how do you even explain like kind of how we've what we've been through and kind of like what we experienced. It's just like
yeah, I don't know. I talk about it a lot with different people of just like, first off, what Janelle, who was our youth pastor at the time,
mhm.
what she gave to us is like, was actually really amazing. Like how the amount of time she spent with us
It's crazy.
is insane.
Mhm.
Like I think about
Think about
anyone
it now.
else was her age, like 28, 27, and she was like, she wasn't getting paid hardly anything, and yet she was
Mhm.
spending like all of her free time with us,
Yep.
which I just thought that was normal. That is not normal.
Right when you
And just like setting this example for us of how to live, and because like, yeah, and she was living for the Lord full on.
Mhm.
Not that she's perfect or anything, but like
No.
giving us this example to follow where even as high schoolers and middle schoolers, we were not living up to it by any means. We were very dumb. But
Yep.
like whether she realized it or not, it was having an impact on us, like
Yeah.
deep down, showing us what it means to live for the Lord.
Yeah.
And I don't think I understood that until much later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel
No.
like there was a lot of seeds being planted in our lives and just like we were goofing off and just having fun, but I feel like the Lord was doing stuff in it all
Oh yeah, for
beyond
sure,
what we
100%.
understood.
Yeah, no, I think when she was kind of in charge of the youth and stuff, like all the time she put in, whether it was on like, especially like the extra stuff, like going out on after church on Sundays, we would go out and hang out.
Yeah, every Sunday
E-
go on an
It's
adventure.
like what?
Yeah,
You don't,
yeah, it was
like I
crazy.
don't think I know any youth group that does that. And it's harder when you obviously have like a bigger youth group, right?
Hmm.
Versus like,
Yeah,
the island's very small, but I mean, sometimes our youth group was pretty big. Like
yeah. There were
there was
different
lots.
seasons, but there was times we had a huge amount of kids. Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
just hungry.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And yeah, I mean, yeah. So I just I think I mean a lot of us who were a part of that youth group just kind of like appreciated her, after it took a little while for us to kind of, I mean, once we kind of understood like how much she did for us and all that stuff. Because if she
Yeah.
didn't do that, I feel like a lot of us wouldn't be where we are today.
No, yeah, I
Like,
don't think so either. Yeah. If
um,
we had just been like going to other youth groups or just going to church on Sunday, like I don't think I would have been where I am now for sure.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can you talk about like, okay, just give me a few challenges that you've recently gone through or like, that maybe you're still struggling with within your youth group or just being a youth pastor in general.
Yeah. Um, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of challenges and it can be super discouraging sometimes.
Yeah.
So let me think of where to start. I think probably the hardest thing lately has been coming to the realization that like I can only do so much.
Hmm.
Um, or even just like there's this desire, and I think it's a natural desire where we want to see the fruit already like being produced in their lives. We want to see like that crop like come to harvest.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and like so I have this group of boys that kind of is like the core of my youth group, and I've had them since they were in seventh grade, and now they're juniors in high school.
Mm.
So that's yeah, like 4 years with them already.
Yeah.
Of just like time spent, yeah, obviously like a lot of time at youth group together every single week, Bible studies, camps, events, just like all we've done a lot together and we've learned a lot together. Um, and then now, 4 years later, I can look at them and I look and I'm like, man, has anything changed?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Has
yeah.
any of this like made an impact on their lives?
Right.
Like no matter how hard I try, sometimes it just feels like
Nothing's changed.
nothing happened.
Hmm.
Like they're still just like selfish little brats that just
Sure.
come for pizza.
Sure, sure. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it can be super discouraging of like, God, like can I do more? Can I make my sermons better? Can I make these events more interesting? Or like how do I even make it less fun, but have them still want to come and just
Mm,
go deeper and like just constantly criticizing myself in that. And that's why I've been loving reflecting, like what we were just reflecting on how when we were youth kids,
yeah.
um, and I look back at myself and then I'm like, man, I was so dumb. Like I was so much dumber than all of these kids that I look at in my youth group.
Sure, sure.
And like, and even like, yeah, I was talking to Janelle, our old youth pastor, just recently, and
Mm,
like, she did not see the potential in me that like is where I am today,
yeah,
even.
yeah, yeah.
And like, that's actually really encouraging to me that to know that like my leaders looked at me and were like, what an idiot, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that means like, yeah,
There's hope
I can
there.
trust that God is doing so much more in their lives than I will ever see, really.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'll get to see them in 5 years and
Sure,
like
yeah.
be amazed at what God's done. Um, and maybe that will have something to do with what we were doing, over these past 5 years, and maybe not. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Um, but it's still like a mental challenge, I think, to accept that like in the end it's God that has to do it, not me.
Hmm.
And just to stay faithful and just like keep doing the work, keep putting it in there, even when it feels like you're like taking one step forward, falling back
Yeah.
5 feet every single time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, that's a huge challenge. Um, yeah, just like trying to get past just having fun and to really cut to the core of the gospel with them and to have them
Hmm.
like genuinely be transformed by it. So it's not just like knowledge anymore. It's like genuine, like it changes their lives, changes their
Right,
hearts, and they're living it out. That's what I would love to see.
right.
Um, but yeah, sometimes you just don't really see it.
Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, like, for us, I'm sure our leaders, like you were saying, I mean, Janelle was talking to you, and like maybe she didn't, or whoever our leaders were at the time didn't see anything like, oh shoot, we got just a handful of idiots here. Like, what are we gonna do? And
Yeah,
but I mean, their job, and obviously our job as well, like as being people and leaders that have gone through that already, is like not to, I guess, not to necessarily like continue to push trying to force the fruit out, but it's more of like,
yeah,
we're just like we're there, we're farmers, we're planting seeds and waiting for the harvest to come.
yeah,
The
yeah,
seasons will pass and things will happen, seeds will die, seeds will sprout, and it's like, okay, like how, what can we do in order to just plant seeds, plant seeds and being able to really, I don't know, I mean, because gonna be honest, like there's a lot of us in our youth group that I think fell away from God, and it was just like, and
yeah,
that wasn't the leader's faults. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, not at all. Yeah. I mean,
And
yeah. I mean, we can't do anything about that, really. Like, no matter how much we try, I mean, it's between that person and God. We can't save someone for them.
right,
They have
they
to
make the
make that
decision.
decision.
Right.
Yeah, and in some ways that's comforting of just like knowing I can't mess it up too bad.
Sure. Right.
You know,
Yeah. I mean,
and it's
yeah.
not all my fault if these kids' lives are like if they're not walking with the Lord in 5 years, like I mean perhaps I could have done better, but like it's
Sure.
not my fault.
Yeah. No.
Of like I gave them every opportunity and like presented this to them and created environments where like yeah, they saw the truth and they have this opportunity to accept it or not. Or to have it let them change their lives and be transformed or not.
Right.
'Cause, yeah, it is. It's just between that person and God.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the end. Yeah.
that's, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, we do the best we can to plant those seeds and then see what God does, honestly. And
Yeah.
then those people that have the seeds have been sown into, they make the decision. And it's, that's kind of what it is. And God, hopefully, I'm not saying that God won't speak to them, but hopefully when God reaches out to them, they're able to receive that as well, and not, God's not just knocking and whoever received that seed that was sown doesn't answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Any other like challenges if you have like one more challenge that, maybe it's
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I could think of a few honestly. Trying to think of like what are the bigger ones. That's definitely like the biggest thing, the thing I struggle with the most.
hmm
Um, and then I think another challenge, let's see. Yeah, I think kind of just like in some ways like church politics and structures and stuff, I feel like is one of the hardest things as a youth pastor where it's like I have some freedom and power over like my specific area of ministry, but there's all sorts of other things going on in the back of just like what I'm allowed to do, what I'm not allowed to do, and
hmm
money and budgets and that kind of stuff that I feel like can often become like a huge hindrance to doing ministry. And it's sad and it's difficult. Um, and when a church is functioning perfectly, I don't know if that ever happens, but when it's like working good, it can be super awesome and super helpful.
Right.
But I feel like a lot of the times it's almost like working against you. Um, and not in like anything serious, really, just like uh, it really comes down to just like, yeah, church leadership and stuff. It's all people and we're all sinners. And so there's obviously going to be like
Right.
tension that always exists and there's no way around that.
hmm
Um, and I'm not speaking to anything specific, obviously, like in
Yeah,
people at my church.
yeah. Just in
I feel like
general.
a lot of the times with like youth ministry, yeah, or just ministry, yeah. I just feel like a lot of times churches start to miss the point and start getting off when we start focusing on other things like, I mean, like it's important to have budgets, but
Yeah.
like when we start prioritizing that stuff and prioritizing just like keeping things clean and tidy versus like creating experiences that kids are drawn to and like can come and be formed. Like when we start valuing order over like the hearts and minds of these individuals, of
hmm
like, and I feel like that's a thing that youth pastors I think face pretty commonly of just like youth ministry can get crazy and it's loud and just sometimes it's wild, sometimes it's super calm, but like it could be all over the place and it can be intense and a lot of old people or older people are like uncomfortable with it at
Right,
times
right, 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 right.
or just like the danger involved like oh we're going to go swimming in big waves or jump off a cliff and like
Sure.
that's just kind of what we like to do like
Yeah.
uh and there's just always like some backlash with that and so I feel like a lot of times I'm going like rogue youth pastor almost of just like this is not a church event.
Sure, sure.
This is just like I'm just building relationships on my own free time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, you guys want to go surf with me? Like, you want to go jump off?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I feel like part of that also still comes back to like my experience as a kid where I loved those times where we're
Oh
off
yeah.
doing
Oh
crazy
yeah.
stuff that
100%.
like it was not really affiliated with the church anymore because it was not allowed to be, but like
Right.
you're like yeah you're just like that's
That's what it
you
is.
go through crazy times and you have fun and you're just building community building deep relationships with one another
hmm
and that kind of comes in those like crazy times is where it's like this is scary we're gonna die and then you bond and you create this
Right.
deep relationship
Right.
out of that
Right. Right.
and
Right.
that's actually kind of sick. Not super conventional maybe but I feel like especially in Hawaii I feel like it
Oh
works really well.
yeah.
um,
Definitely.
yeah when I was working as a youth pastor on the mainland or as an intern over there I was like trying to plan events and stuff and like just was not allowed to do anything and like because everything required like for like had to go be approved by everyone on the
Yeah.
board and they needed parent
Yeah.
signatures for every single event
Yeah.
like everything needed signatures and which is like I'm glad they're worried about their kids and keeping them safe but also like let them live just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
It's just not fun. I
but
I
yeah
would
it
hate
was
that
just
if that
hard.
was like I would hate that if that was like us back when like you guys got to get this signed by your parents or that would be so annoying.
No, yeah, like there that would have been impossible because like we were just like we got dropped off at church and we're there for like 15 hours straight. Like
Yeah.
parents had no idea what was going on.
So true.
Like
Oh my
yeah,
god.
it would have been impossible. And I feel like I have a lot of that in what I'm doing now where like a lot of these kids their families are not Christians.
hmm
So these kids don't go to church on Sunday. Their families don't go to church on Sunday, and it's literally like their parents don't even probably know where they are on Wednesday night. They're just here,
Mm,
coming to like
sure.
hear about Jesus because they want to as an individual. And so like obviously it's important when you can to have like your family and the parents of these youth like supporting them and like being a part of discipling them. But in a lot of these kids' lives, that's just not even an option.
Right, right, right.
Um, and so like there's really no way to do it except for just like, yeah, we're just gonna do our own thing
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just make our own little community and church basically out of the people that we have here.
Hmm.
And like obviously as much as I can, I try to bring them into our bigger church community.
Right.
Um, but for a lot of them it's yeah, that's just so foreign and they have no idea what it even is,
Yeah,
hardly.
yeah.
Um, and no one there's no one to bring them here on a Sunday morning.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
they're
That's a
just
big, yeah.
they're out just on their own, which is crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, love it.
What do you, if you could name like one blessing that, you've, that really, something that blessed you or, um, that you feel like, oh shoot, this is super awesome. Like, what would you say? Just about being a youth pastor, about ministry in general.
Yeah. Um, I mean, there's a lot of really great times, obviously, because yeah, we just spent a while talking about all the hard times. But a lot of it, I mean, most of the time I'm just playing games and going on adventures, and
Yeah,
it's really fun.
yeah.
Um,
You can live like a kid
but
again.
yeah, and basically, I get yeah, my job is to just like be a high schooler that's just like slightly more mature and
Right.
can teach every once in a while. But um, so that's obviously, I mean, that's a blessing in itself. But like, I think some of the biggest things that have been a blessing over the years are just like these. There's like a few moments that really stand out where God did let me see a little bit of that fruit already coming to bear in their lives.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like it doesn't come as often as I would want, obviously. And sometimes it's just like such small things where so yeah, so maybe like a month ago we were just walking through. We had just finished up a series on the Book of John, so just going through the whole gospel.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and I made them basically write like an essay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of mean sometimes to them where I give them like homework basically. So they had
Sure,
to
sure.
write like at least like one 5 sentence paragraph, just like what is the gospel and what does it mean to you personally.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I just like collected them and was reading them, and a lot of them were just like so close, but not quite. But like
Hmm.
they sort of understand. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. We're on the right track. But then there's just like a few, and there were these kids that were just like they're super quiet, or like they're just actually there's one kid I'm not gonna say his name, but like he's just this major goofball, just like always goofing off, always causing trouble. Every time I'm up there teaching or preaching, he's just like I have to be correcting him like every 3 minutes, like, hey, quiet down, I'm teaching.
Right.
And just like one of those ones that like you just do not see anything going in,
Sure,
you
sure, sure.
know?
Yeah, yeah.
And um, he was out there talking, and we had it was him, and he's one of the kids I've had for like 5 years, and he had invited like three of his friends to youth group that do not go to church at all,
Hmm.
which was like awesome in itself. And they were sharing their responses to this essay question with each other, reading them out. And he started reading his, and just nailed it like oh my gosh, the kid understood completely like, oh, Jesus died on the cross and he lived a perfect life. And so that when he died, he was this perfect sacrifice that gives us forgiveness of sins. And when we believe in him, we have access to that and eternal life. Um, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cool just to see that like it means something to him. Like he understands it and it means something.
Right, right, right,
And
right.
then what happened after that was even more cool, where all of these kids that know him from school that have never been to church are like, bro, you're so smart. We never knew you were smart. Why don't and then he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I guess like I just care more about this stuff than school, I guess.
Oh, well.
Was what he said
Yeah, yeah,
to them,
sure,
and they're
sure,
like,
yeah.
oh wow. And then they were suddenly like so curious of just like this stuff is so important that this
Hmm.
kid who is like failing his classes does not care,
Sure.
wants to learn about this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool.
Um, where like, and so all of a sudden, what he was sharing was having an impact on these other kids, not even because of anything I did. I was just like, oh man,
That's
God
awesome.
is using it. And
Yeah,
so that was, yeah, those
yeah.
moments where like I'm more of just even an observer of that, but like in some ways it's from like stuff that I was sowing over the years, but like just seeing God move in their lives in those ways where it becomes, yeah, like it's just shown visibly because I can't see what's happening on the
No,
inside, but when I get to see it, oh man, it's so cool.
that's
It's
awesome.
rad.
That's sweet. That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's just the,
um,
it's just the little, it's the little moments, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure when, I'm sure when, I guess like our old leaders look at us now and they're like, oh shoot, like something happened, and I'm sure they feel super, they feel good about that because they feel like they did their job, and I'm sure that's how you feel like when you see those little things happening. You're like, oh shoot, that hopefully what I said the other day or the past couple years made an impact on this person, and sure enough, it did. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Even if
yeah,
it's
and
like the
that,
slightest
it's
thing.
great to know that it made an impact. Yeah,
That's really cool.
exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
No, that's awesome. Sick.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no. Um, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk about just those little things because I think it can be super encouraging for not just other pastors or just people in general, like especially people that are leaders within the church, to really understand, like, there's a lot of challenges within ministry, but there's also a lot of blessings, even if it's the small things, right? Even if
Yeah.
it's like the little things, and sometimes, I mean, sometimes we don't even see those things for years.
Yeah, no, that's exact. I was gonna say that. Like, yeah, like man, like it could be so discouraging at times where yeah, you just feel like nothing is happening, and you just like, okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm done. Like this isn't worth it,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Or like you start to take it personally and be super self-critical of like,
Mhm.
I'm not doing a good enough job. I should stop so that someone else can come in and like not screw up all this
Right,
because
right.
there's so much potential in these kids and I don't want to mess them up, you know? And just like yeah, self doubt can really creep in those times. But just yeah, like looking back at ourselves, seeing the fruit that came out of our lives when I think both of us were probably somewhat unexpected, perhaps, to be where we are today and
Oh yeah,
walking with the Lord the way we
100%.
are today.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, or even just looking at my own kids and seeing God doing things where I wouldn't expect it, and just be like, okay, yeah,
Just
just
keep
keep
going.
going.
Yeah.
Do like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Just keep going.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's awesome.
Like yeah.
Well, thanks for letting me talk to you and kind of talk to you about this kind of stuff. I think it's super important. I think you're a very good person to kind of talk about this because you're
Yeah.
very, very loving, very kind, very smart, and I think a lot of people get something out of it. And
Thank you. I hope so. Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah. That's encouraging. No, I love talking about it. And honestly, it's good for me just to reflect every once in a while because I feel like a lot of the time it's just like you're just going and doing it and you don't take the time to stop and reflect
yeah,
on what you've done or how, like, where you're at with it. And I think it's important to, like, yeah, evaluate and be like, how can I keep going? Like, what has God been doing? And then looking at what God's been doing and making sure you're staying with what He's doing,
hmm,
not just like going off and doing your own thing.
right.
Um,
No, that's
so
awesome.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
good to talk about it and reflect on it and think about it and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's where the fruit's coming. Let's keep watering over there, you know,
yeah, yeah.
and stuff like that. So
Good,
yeah,
sweet.
thanks for asking questions. Appreciate it.
No, yeah, I like doing this stuff. It's super random, but I like doing. I think I like talking to people about pretty much anything. What they're experiencing.
Oh yeah,
How we can use
it's
that
good.
in our own lives, and yeah. So if anybody wants to, I don't know if Jacob gives out his Instagram or anything like that, or his whatever he's on. But if
For
anybody
sure.
wants to wants to follow him, where can they find you, Jacob?
You know, find me on TikTok.
You make some coffee videos.
I make coffee videos. I should
Yeah.
probably post more like ministry videos about, no. Instagram, I don't know. Every Facebook. I don't really use Facebook, but I'm on Facebook.
It's all good. All good.
I have a YouTube channel.
Sick.
I
Let's
don't know
go.
what I post on YouTube anymore, but
Sweet. No, thank
all
you.
jokes. But yeah, I'm all over.
Thanks for talking about this and then yeah,
Shoots. Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
sweet.
Love what you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you
man.
so much for watching. If you guys like this video, make sure to like it, comment if you have any questions or if you want to see something specific. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace out.